everyone, this is the Pop Music Freak, back with another video. I'm starting another set of videos to cover the hits of every glorious year of pop music. I'm starting it at 1964. Now, for those of you who are fans of music before 1964, please understand that it's kind of a situation where I kind of want to get a whole load of viewers on this channel. I want a lot of people on here, so I kind of got to do a cutoff somewhere. I mean, the music was great. The 50s music was beautiful and wonderful. It was great music. I have nothing against any of it, but it's just a matter of if I'm going to cover everything up to this very day of 2022. I kind of, there's only so much I can do. I mean, and I've given you several different varieties of videos, and it's something I'm looking forward to doing. So I'm going to start with 1964 because it's probably the most revolutionary year in pop music. Music changed pretty drastically that year, especially the new artists that started having hits completely changed the whole scene. Certainly, I'm sure no one will argue that point. So what I'm going to do is like I do with all my other countdowns. I do the top 100, but I always throw in number 101 because I always feel sorry for them that just missed the list. And looking at the list in front of me, yeah, it's a really good song too that deserves its due. So anyway, without delaying things any further, let me start it up. Of course, the two big innovations in 1964 were the British invasion. I'll be talking a bit about the Beatles in this countdown. As you saw in the opening there graph, there was the top 5 songs of April 4th, 1964. Obviously, the Beatles kind of caught fire in the early days. Needless to say, it was also a big year for the introduction of the Detroit sound. The Motown sound started to play a huge part in what was going on in the music scene. Certainly. Okay, so I'm going to start right now. Number 101, the song that just missed the top 100, happens to be a Motown song. It's Martha and the Vandellas with Quicksand, big top 10 record for them in the beginning of 64. One other note, since the the copyright gods have been striking me with their whip, I'm going to be doing more of just showing you a picture of the record label and not playing the song. I am sorry. But what I will do is I'll start sharing links in the description of links to every one of these songs. Just so, people can hear. If they're dying to really hear what this song was, they can play it at their leisure. All right? So, 101, Quicksand, Martha and the Vandellas. Now go to number 100. Lorne Greene, a TV star. Yes, Lorne Greene. Yes, Bonanza. Yes, indeed. He had put out a record, and it shot all the way to number 1 at the very end of 1964. The song Ringo is ranked number 100 for 1964. Another thing to keep in mind when I do these countdowns, just to mention, I'm going to follow the chart year that Billboard used, which was basically December of the year before through that year's November. And then say December of 64, points earned at that point will count towards 1965. Makes sense. Then might as well follow it the way that they did it, since we're using the Billboard Hot 100. So, anyway, let's get back to it. Number 99, we have the Hondells and Little Honda, song that was also recorded by the Beach Boys, but they didn't put it out as a single, so this other little band, the Hondells, put it out and hit the top 10. Surfing music certainly was still a huge part of the music scene. That's something that developed within a year or two before. Beach Boys, of course, have a presence throughout the 60s, so we'll be playing a few of their songs in this countdown as well. So, yes, Hondells, number 99 with Little Honda. Now we go to song number 98. We have a one-hit wonder named Joey Powers, who hit the top 10 with Midnight Mary. Don't know much about the song. He never had another hit. We're just gonna keep rolling along here. All right. Among one of the huge stars that was still going strong even in 1964, we have Bobby Vinton at number 97 with My Heart Belongs to Only You. In terms of the teen idol, teeny bopper scene. Bobby Vinton was one of the kings of that at that time. He had started having hits in 1962, and he would have a couple more hits going into 1965, and then kind of faded out until he had the mid 70s comeback that a lot of these 60s artists ended up having. Came back with My Melody of Love in 1974. That was a big, big hit. That'll be in the top 100. Anyway, let's keep rolling. Number 96, we have Dale and Grace with Stop and Think It Over, which was a big top 10 record for them. They would have at least one more hit. I'm leaving it up to you. We have that coming up. So they had a couple of hits. They were not very well remembered after 1964, but were pretty popular at this time. Okay, next, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas had song number 95, Bad to Me. Song got a good amount of radio play from looking at the chart figures. It didn't sell a huge amount, but it was on the radio quite a bit. Okay, next, number 94, we have the Jelly Beans and I Want to Love Him So Bad. Another one-hit wonder act. There's several in this countdown that seem to have this one big record and were not able to follow it up. Okay. Next, number 93, we have the Beach Boys that I've already mentioned. They had several hits in 1964. One of them was When I Grow Up to Be a Man, which hit the top 10 in the early part of 64. Actually, more towards the spring, now that I think about it. But Capitol Records was certainly the top label of 1964 with the Beatles and the Beach Boys. Weren't going to beat them. Motown had their first big year. They would probably be the number one label in 65, but we'll get to that in 65. All right, number 92, we have the Tams and What Kind of Fool Do You Think I Am? Another one-hit wonder act. Didn't do much afterwards. All right, number 91, we have the Ventures, another beach band who pretty much predated the Beach Boys. They had a couple of hits before 62. One of them was Walk Don't Run, which they re-recorded in 64 and re-released and hit the top 10 for a second time. So that ranks them in number 91. Excuse me. Another beach band, Jan and Dean, number 90, with Drag City. They would have a pretty big 1964. And combine all the beach songs from beach bands. They were probably, would be the third group of songs that kind of follow the same general theme. So there they are, number 90. Next, we have number 89. We have Al Martino with I Love You More and More Every Day. Still a good market for love songs. And Al Martino is one of the strongest love song artists of the time, for sure. Okay, number 88, British band, The Zombies. She's Not There would go all the way to number 2 on the chart at the end of 1964. And would have a few more hits afterwards. It was a good start for them, number 88. Number 87, first hit ever for Bobby Goldsboro, See the Funny Little Clown. Kind of more of a country pop sound, but for Bobby Goldsboro. Of course, he'd be most well known for the song Honey that would hit number 1 a few years later in 1968. Okay, next. Roger Miller at number 86 with Chug-a-Lug. Another artist in a similar vein to Bobby Goldsboro, but maybe a little more country-edged than Roger Miller. But was a big artist at the time. King of the Road would be his biggest hit that would come out the next year in 65. Okay, number 85, we have The Impressions, Jerry Butler and Curtis Mayfield started the group in the late 50s into the early 60s. Jerry Butler became more of a solo artist by this time, but Curtis Mayfield had moved the band definitely into a more socially conscious direction at this time, and Keep On Pushing was certainly one of those songs that had that theme and made them very, very popular through the 60s. So this is Keep On Pushing, number 85. Next, we have Danny Williams' one-hit wonder with White on White. Would be more of an easy listening kind of hit, but did pretty well in the charts, coming in at number 84 for the year. Next, my friends, number 83, another British invasion band, Jerry and the Pacemakers. How Do You Do It? They were pretty hot for one of those bands that would be hot for about 2 years and then fade out. But in those 2 years, they put out some amazing pop songs, and this was one of them, How Do You Do It? Next, number 82, we have Tommy Rowe, an Atlanta-based pop artist with Everybody. Pretty much would be his first big hit. He would have a few more hits afterwards, the most notably being Dizzy in 1969. We'll get to that. Next, we have Dale and Grace, again at number 81, with I'm Leaving It Up to You, another happy-go-lucky type of love song. It would be remade in 1974 by Donnie and Marie Osmond and become a hit again. I'm not sure if that made the top 100 of 74. I think so, but we'll get to that. Next, number 80, we have Roy Orbison, and It's Over. Roy Orbison was continuing his string of hits going back to 1958. This would probably be his last big year of hits, but the follow-up to It's Over would be his biggest hit ever. We'll get to that. It's in the countdown. All right. Number 79, we have Dean Martin. The Door Is Still Open to My Heart. Keeping the ball rolling for the Rat Pack contingent. Sinatra didn't really do a huge amount in 64. Didn't have any big pop hits, certainly. But his run, his 60s run would start at the end of the next year, at the end of 65. Dean Martin was going strong, certainly, on the charts. This was probably his best year in terms of success. All right, number 78, we have Dion. On the label, it's Dion DiMucci with Drip Drop. He had Dion and the Belmonts going strong in the early years, 58 until about 61. Then he decided to start recording solo as just Dion. Had his biggest success, a big run of hits through 1964. Drip Drop was a big top 10 hit, putting him at number 78 for the year. Next, number 77, Johnny Tullison and Talk Back Trembling Lips. He had a couple of hits a couple of years before, and this would be his last top 10 hit. Doing fairly well, coming in at 77 for the year. Okay, next, number 76, we have the Beach Boys again with Be True to Your School. Very interesting song that, that gave a lot of high school pride to a lot of kids, I guess. That was the idea behind that song. Anyway, next, we have number 75. It's Dionne Warwick and Anyone Who Had a Heart. This would be her very first top 10 hit. Amazingly long career, successful career that Dionne Warwick would have. Would chart as in the top 10 as late as 1986. So if this was the beginning, Anyone Who Had a Heart, she would also hit Would Walk On By. We'll come to that in a little while. That's in the countdown. All right, next, number 74, another Motown artist, Shirley Ellis, The Nitty Gritty. Be the first of a couple of other top 10 hits. She would have a clapping song in The Name Game coming up, but this was her first top 10. Next, number 73, The Reflections, and Just Like Romeo and Juliet. Definitely goes along with the sound of a lot of 60s bands, especially the British bands. Has a very similar sound, indeed. Okay, number 72 is Ricky Nelson and For You, although at this point he shortened it to Rick Nelson. He would have this hit, and he'd have a couple of minor hits in the 60s, and then have a big top 10 in 1972 at the Garden Party. But at this point, he was growing up and decided to drop the Y in Ricky. Okay. Chad and Jeremy at number 71 with a summer song. Definitely a memorable summer song. Indeed. Another British duo who had pretty decent amount of success in this time period, as did a lot of British acts, obviously. Okay, Number 70, we have Roger Miller and Dang Me, another country-tinged pop song that did pretty well. Number 70. Next, number 69, we have the Four Seasons and Ronnie. Song that would be out earlier in the year. Would be a quick follow-up to Dawn Go Away. Be a big year for the Four Seasons, as they would also have Ragdoll coming up later in the countdown. Next, number 68, Betty Everett, the Shoop Shoop song. It's in his Kiss. Yes, it's right. Cher did not do the original version of this song. Not even close. Shoop Shoop song. It was recorded by several different artists. But Betty Everett had the biggest hit with it. Okay. Number 67, we have the Rivieras in California Sun, another beach sounding, surfing sounding band that didn't have much else success other than the song. But we're known and definitely part of that grouping of beach sound. Okay, next, Dave Clark 5 at number 66 with Can't You See That She's Mine. Probably the most blatant sound-alikes of the Beatles at the time. But they were right there hit for hit and had to work absolutely huge for 2 years, with 64 and 65. So you can't ignore them, even though obviously the lead singer was trying to copy John Lennon's voice very much. So anyway, number 65, we have the Caravels with You Don't Have to Be a Baby to Cry. They had actually been around for a couple of years. This was a pretty big breakthrough for them, but they wouldn't last too long. Next, Beach Boys once again with Fun, Fun, Fun. Big number 5 hit in the beginning of 1964. Obviously, one of the biggest bands in this time period. Brian Wilson was still touring with them, although he would stop touring with them by the end of 1965 to focus on being the super master songwriter that he was. Okay, next, number 63, we have Stan Getz with The Girl from Ipanema. Definitely an easy listening classic, indeed, and a big record in the summertime of 64. Okay, number 62, we have Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas with Little Children, their other big hit besides Bad to Me. This song got a good amount of radio play. Not maybe as much as the biggest stars got, but definitely a worthwhile hit. Number 61, we have Gene Pitney, It Hurts to Be in Love. One of his biggest hits. He would have a string of them from the early 60s through the late 60s. Definitely an artist that had talent and was a pretty good singer. All right, next. Number 60, we have Jay and the Americans. This would be their first top 10 record. Well, actually, I take that back. Their second top 10. They had She Cried in 1963, 62 into 63. Come a little bit closer would end up being the highest charting hit, going to number 3 in November of 64. Next, number 59, we have the Honeycombs and Have I the Right. Definitely a British sounding band that didn't last, but were definitely on the radio quite a bit that year. All right, number 58, we have Diane Renee and Navy Blue, a hit from the beginning of 64. Basically her only top 10 record. Kind of followed the same kind of sound and as what's her name? Leslie Gore. I'm trying to think of Leslie Gore. I'm sorry. Kind of the female coming down from the line, definitely influenced by Connie Francis and other female artists before. Kind of a novelty tune, but pretty big hit for its time. Okay, number 57, we have Jan and Dean with Dead Man's Curve. It would be one of 4 hits they would have in 1964. Definitely the beach sound was hot. Okay, number 56, Dionne Warwick with a second top 10 hit, Walk On By. Probably a little bit more well remembered than Anyone Who Had a Heart, but they were both classic songs Bacharach David songs, certainly. Okay, number 55, we have Betty Everett with Jerry Butler and Let It Be Me. This is a song that has been recorded so many times. It's hard to really say whose, song it is, Let It Be Me. But it was Shangri-La's number 54, Leader of the Pack, number one smash at the very end of 1964. A very underrated girl group. Definitely a huge influence on a lot of girl groups that came after. Okay, next, number 53, Bobby Freeman, Come On and Swim. Come on, do the swim. Following in the shadows of Chubby Checker's dance songs with Bobby Freeman. All right, number 52, the Dave Clark 5 again with Because, probably a lot of people's favorite Dave Clark 5 song. Definitely a very solid love song for its time. Okay, number 51, speaking of great love songs by British bands, Jerry and the Pacemakers, Don't Let the Sun Catch You Crying. Just really heartwarming song. It really is. If you give me a list of name my 10 favorite songs of that year, that's definitely one of them, for certain. And Jerry and Pacemakers had like I mentioned earlier, had a pretty good run those couple of years. Here we go. Speaking of British, Dusty Springfield at number 50 and Wishin' and Hopin' would be her first top 10 hit. Didn't have a huge amount of hit records, but if you think about legendary female artists, you have to include her, in my opinion. All right, number 49, once again, the Dave Clark 5, Glad All Over, their very first top 10 hit in April of 64. Did pretty well, got them going. All right, next we have number 48, the Marquettes and Out of Limits. Pretty cool instrumental song. They would later be one of the artists to do the theme from Batman, which did pretty well, 1966. But the Out of Limits was their first big hit. Next, Millie Small at number 47, My Boy Lollipop. Number 2 hit in the summertime. Somehow I keep harkening back to some show on HBO that was kind of R-rated. That someone used that song on there. Anyway, all right, enough about me. Number 46, Lenny Welch, Since I Fell For You. Has there been more haunting, beautiful ballad in the 60s than that? There's not many more. Big hit, number 4 hit in January of 64. Next, number 45, Jan and Dean again with The Little Old Lady from Pasadena. Probably their most famous song next to maybe Surf City, which hit number 1 in 1963. Little Old Lady from Pasadena. I think just about most people at least know that title, even if they don't know the song. Next, number 44, The Trashmen and Surfin' Bird. One of the wackiest novelty records you'll ever hear in your life. Very enjoyable song. Cashing in on the surfing craze. Next, Dave Clark 5 once again in number 43 with Bits and Pieces. They just put out hit after hit after hit, and you gotta give them a lot of credit. That's why they got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on basically four really good years. They had so many hits. All right, number 42, Major Lance and You'd have to hear the song. That's all I can say. It's pretty interesting. Definitely an influence on. Anyway, number 41, the Serendipity Singers with Don't Let the Rain Come Down. Very interesting, kind of laid back, almost like a folk kind of sound almost from this group. They were very, very solid singing group though. All right, next, number 40, Bobby Rydell and Forget Him. This would end up being his final top 10 hit. He had a big run going back to 1959 with one of those artists that kind of gets swept away by the British invasion and Motown. There's several like that who were basically their popularity ended right around here. All right, next. Number 39, we have Ronnie and the Daytonas and GTO. Another car driving, surfing kind of band. Didn't do much after this, unfortunately. Okay, number 38, Welcome, the lowest charting song in our top 100 of the year by the Beatles. And 38 isn't bad for the lowest song, considering how many other hits they have coming up. Do you want to know a secret? Hit number 2 in late May, early June of 64. One of many. That's all I can say right now. Number 37, we have Shangri-La's once again with Remember, Walking in the Sand, probably the other most memorable song besides Leader of the Pack. So there they are, 37. Number 36, first top 10 hit ever for Barbra Streisand. People, big hit. Dominated the easy listening chart in 1964. And this started her on a huge run of hits. I don't even have to tell you about her. Okay, number 35, we have the Drifters and Under the Boardwalk. A classic beach song, certainly. Would be their final top 10 hit. It had a big run going back to about 1959. Next, number 34, we have Leslie Gore and You Don't Own Me. A big, influential hit record. Cannot be understated that this song really mattered and opened the door for a lot of women singing songs about, standing up for themselves and being strong. Definitely was an innovative record. She deserves a lot of credit. Next, number 33, the Ripcords and Hey Little Cobra. There you go, another beach song. I see a theme here, huh? Next, number 32, the Mermaids, Popsicles and Icicles. Pretty popular song in its time. Was successful on the easy listening chart as well. Okay. Number 31, Johnny Rivers' first top 10 record, Memphis. Definitely influenced by Muddy Waters and the blues and that type of sound. He was definitely someone who wasn't afraid to take sounds from the past and make them new again. All right, number 30, Al, He's the King, Hurt, with Java. Very influential instrumental act, was hugely popular at the time. Number 29, we have Gail Garnett and We'll Sing in the Sunshine. A nice sing-along ditty kind of song. There were a few groups that were very good with that, although most of them ended up being one-hit wonders. Number 28, we have the Ray Charles Singers and Love Me With All Your Heart. They tell Ray to go play the piano and let us do our thing for a change. And it worked out pretty well as it hit number 3 on the pop chart. Next, number 27, we have Terry Stafford and Suspicion. Yes, he sounds a whole heck of a lot like Elvis Presley. Yes, he did. And this was a big record. Big enough that Elvis actually tried his hand to sing this song, but didn't chart with it. But Terry Stafford got to number 3 with Suspicion. Next, number 26, The Four Seasons and Dawn, Go Away. Big single. Now, after they've already had 3 number 1 hits at this point, Sherry, Big Girls Don't Cry, and Walk Like a Man, this probably, if it wasn't for the British invasion, would have been another huge number 1 record. It was very big and was battling strongly with the Beatles at the time, but the Beatles would win the battle for the early part of 1964. All right, speaking of which, number 25, the Beatles and Please Please Me. A million-selling single that only reached number 3 because other Beatles songs were 1 and 2. All right, number 24, Martha and Vandellas, Dancing in the Street, another Motown classic. By a group that probably should have been on almost equal footing with the Supremes. It's just a matter that more tremendous songs were written for the Supremes than for Martha and Vandellas at the time. Next, number 23, The New Beats with Bread and Butter, a little British novelty group with a very novel kind of sound to them at the time. Yeah, Bread and Butter is a fun one. Next, number 22, the Beatles again with Twist and Shout. Big number 2 record, the only million-selling Beatles single not written by Lennon and McCartney. It was originally an Isley Brothers hit. Next, number 21, Beatles again, Love Me Do, number 1 for 2 weeks. Was originally recorded 2 years earlier in 1962 and was their first big British hit and became a number 1 hit in USA as well. Okay, number 20, the top 20, J. Frank Wilson and the Cavaliers and Last Kiss. Big record that was remade like 35 years later by Pearl Jam. This is the original version. Next, number 19, Peter and Gordon, A World Without Love, written by Lennon McCartney. Decided, hey, Peter Asher was the brother of the girlfriend of Paul McCartney at the time. His sister was dating Paul McCartney, so to do something nice for the family, threw this dog a bone. Threw Peter Asher this song and said, here, record this. You might do all right with it. Hit number 1. Next, number 18, The Supremes and Baby Love. Big number 1 hit 4 weeks at the top in the fall of 64. What can be said about the Supremes? They battled hit for hit with the Beatles for quite a while on the charts. Next, number 17, The Four Seasons and Ragdoll. Another big number 1 hit for Frankie Valli and the boys. Their 4th number 1 and dominated the radio in July of 64. Number 16, we have The Singing Nun and Dominique. Actually, we hit number 1 in December of 63, which is the reason it's counting towards 64. Yeah, I mean, what do you say about a nun, a singing nun? Singing a beautiful religious type song. I mean, what can I add to that? Other than one hit wonder. Next, number 15, we have the Dixie Cups and Chapel of Love. Big wedding song. Spring into summer of 64. The timing was perfect. Hit number 1 in May. Before the wedding's in June. Come on. Could there be a wedding that didn't have this song playing that year? Anyway, next we have number 14, The Animals, The House of the Rising Sun, another big British band led by Eric Burdon. Started a run of hits for them. I mean, it's a classic traditional song that has been recorded probably by 100 different artists, all different genres. But this was a big British rock sounding song. And I guess this version, this style, probably fit it the best. Alright, number 13, The Beatles again, Can't Buy Me Love. The song spent 5 weeks at number 1 and is the song that gave the Beatles the distinction of having the entire top 5 of the charts on April 4th of 1964. So Can't Buy Me Love, though, was a big song, was also in the Hard Day's Night soundtrack, which was number 12 for 1964, A Hard Day's Night. So, I mean, the dominance was just already to the point of being almost ridiculous. As you look at it and say, yeah, they had number 25, they had number 22, number 21, number 13, number 12, and they have a couple more spots coming up. Unreal. Okay, number 11 for 1964, Dean Martin and Everybody Loves Somebody would be the biggest hit of his entire career and would be a big part of the radio in the summertime of 64 as well. Number 10, The Kingsmen, Louie, Louie, released late in 1963, rocketed up the charts all the way to number 2, but got stuck behind Bobby Vinton's There I've Said It Again, which is coming up, and also the Beatles' I Want to Hold Your Hand. So it got stuck behind 2 of the biggest hits of the year. And I'm still trying to figure out what the hell he was singing. Anyway, number 9, Mary Wells and My Guy. Big Motown number 1 record. Mary Wells was probably the biggest star in Motown the first 2 years. Maybe 62 and 63. I don't think anyone else sold more than Mary Wells did, but then Supreme's, Temptations, Four Tops, and everybody else got hot. She kind of got pushed to the wayside. All right. Anyway, number 8, Manfred Mann and Doo Wah Diddy Diddy, another British invasion band. Didn't have a lot of hits, but they had a couple in the 60s. Had a good big revival in the mid 70s as Manfred Mann's Earth Band. But this is what started it off for them, spending 2 weeks at number 1. Number 7, Roy Orbison and Oh Pretty Woman, the biggest hit of Roy Orbison's career, spending 3 weeks at number 1, would end up being a hit years later for Van Halen. But this was the biggie. It's kind of a shame how quickly he fell in popularity after this. But had a great career, really did. All right, number 6, The Beach Boys and I Get Around, the other big hit of the summer that was battling it out with Ragdoll by the Four Seasons and Hard Day's Night. Okay, top 5 of 1964. Number 5, The Supremes, Where Did Our Love Go? Their first of 12 number 1 singles. Another big record in August. Next, number 4, Bobby Vinton, There I've Said It Again, would spend 3 weeks at number 1 and be a huge easy listening hit as well. The last number 1 hit before the beginning of the Beatles' dominance. Okay, speaking of which, number 3, The Beatles and She Loves You, 2 weeks at number 1, another 4 more weeks at number 2, and a week at number 3. Basically, the only reason it wasn't bigger is because I Want to Hold Your Hand was a little bigger. Number 2, the man, the legend, Louis Armstrong, with a big record, Hello, Dolly. Another one that was a victim of the Beatles. I'm going to tell you right now, just looking at the numbers, let's see, it was number 5, number 3, number 3 again, number 2, number 1, number 3, number 5, number 5, number 7, was in the top 10 for a big long run, but there were Beatles songs in front of him the whole time. But in terms of sales, it was one of the biggest selling records of the year, and in terms of easy listening, it was the number 1 song of the year. So here we are, number 1 song of 1964, the Fab Four, their first number 1. They would spend 7 weeks at the top. I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles, which actually I saw him standing there, saw her standing there on the B side, which was a pretty decent hit on its own, charted at number 14. But big monster record that changed pop music scene. Wasn't the same. It was opened the door for all the other British acts that would start having hits right after them. So it's a big moment. It may not seem so huge from today's standards of music, but it was the beginning of the run of the greatest, most successful band in history. So there we are. That's it. The top 100 songs of 1964. I'm going to try and do a top 100 countdown each week. It does take a little bit of a while to get all those record labels together and to compile the information, but it's a labor of love indeed. I enjoy these countdowns very much. And I'm going to keep rolling with them. All right? So please share. Please subscribe. Please like the video. It's the only way other people get to see that I exist. All right? And I'm going to keep rolling. I'm going to try and do probably another kind of like reaction video today. We'll see what else I can get done. All right? So thanks so much. Peace and love.